Today I'm going to show you how to use the cursor agent to do the complicated technical tasks, which are the backbone of any vibe coding project that are difficult if you're not in it every day. Like I used to be a full-time coder many years ago, and I would spend a fair amount of time on the command line. But even then, it was difficult for me to remember like all the commands, do all the things. So I was constantly looking stuff up or, flagging in help so that it would tell me what kind of commands there were and what my options are. Constantly doing this. It's very time consuming. And thanks to Levels.io on X, who had the brilliant idea to use Claude Code to manage his server, and I kind of stole that and tweaked it. So I'm using the cursor coding agent to do the same thing. And then in today's video, what I'm going to do is deploy the project that I've been vibe coding on for 10 days straight for my clients to use, using the cursor agent to set up a DigitalOcean droplet, to deploy all of the node architecture that I have for my project, the project itself, to set up the database and do all of this stuff. I'm going to show you how I do that with just simple, plain English. It's pretty amazing. And it's much, much, much faster than having to look everything up and try to figure out how to do it yourself. So the first step in this was, for my project anyway, and it probably makes sense in most cases, was to use Git GitHub to manage versioning control, obviously, but then also part of the deployment, so I can store it on the remote GitHub, and then I can call it down over on the remote server. So the first thing I did is I packaged it all up, took the branch that I've been working on, my new features that I want to roll out, and I committed them, and I merged the branch with main, and I pushed them and so forth. And I'm just using English commands with and in this case, I'm just using the auto agent because it's smart enough. It's not smart enough to do a lot of the coding on my behalf, but it is smart enough to do things like manage the repository and deploy parts of the project and stuff like that. So even just with the basic agent, which is free, if you're on a paid plan, you have an unlimited amount of these agent calls. I can do all the GitHub management, which I don't know the commands. I don't GitHub that much. I'm a solo developer. It's been a long time. When I was developing last, we didn't even use GitHub. So it's not something that I know the commands to all that well. And I use the agent to manage that. And then likewise, we can use the agent to manage the DigitalOcean droplet that I'm going to set up. But first, we have to provision the new droplet at DigitalOcean. And for that, you could probably use Perplexity Commit to do this for you. But because there's a credit card involved, I'll just do it with a couple of steps. It's quite simple, but I'll show you how you set that up. Just create an account at DigitalOcean. That part's pretty easy. Go to create a new droplet, and as it says, they start at $4 a month, but that's not enough to do the kind of project that I have. So you got to pick your location. I'm going to pick your operating system. I like Ubuntu, and the plan is basic, but I'm going to bump it up to here so I get a gig of RAM because I like to use MySQL, and MySQL requires a little bit more than 512 at its peak usage, and so a gig of RAM gives it plenty of space to operate. So you can see here it is, $8 a month. I'm actually going to go ahead and add some daily backups. So that'll bring me up to just a little over $10 a month. Login method is going to be an SSH key. So set up a new key. You can follow these steps to create that key. It's very simple. Just paste these into the command line and it will generate a key. All right, and create that droplet. Okay, so here's the droplet that we've just set up. Now what we need to do is get Cursor's agent to log into this. So for that, we'll need the IP address, and we have our SSH key that I've already created and installed in the project brief. Let's go over here. We'll now type a very simple command like need to answer the question, so I push it over to terminal. So I'm having a little trouble getting connected, and I'm using the agent to tell me what to do so that I can solve this problem. So in the droplet, I have console access directly from their backend login, but I can't get connected via the SSH key that I created. So I'm having the agent walk me through the process and provide the code, so I can just copy and paste it over to connect it, and then I'll let it run. Okay, there it worked. So now the terminal in Cursor is logged in and the agent has access to it. I wrote a simple prompt that instructs it not to do anything yet, which is always very important when you're working with the agent, but to tell me what it's going to do so that I can approve that plan, and then I will let it do it step by step, approving it as we go. And I did that with the prompt, prepare our current project for deployment to this new DigitalOcean droplet. Don't take any action yet. Just present a step-by-step plan for setting up the environment and deploying the main branch of this project. All right, see what happens. It's describing my project. It's talking about the environment setup and the dependencies that we'll need and what it's going to do to execute that, which I sort of understand, I sort of half understand, right? Which is good enough because this is a brand new droplet. So anything that blows up, we can just delete. It gets a little bit more complicated as you manage this moving forward, but that's what daily backups are for. Here it is, step by step. Oh, that's great. I'm going to skip to the end and go, yep, sure, cool. Let's just do it. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it into a new session because we've got about 20% of the context use. I want it to be as intelligent as possible, so I want to have so much room for thinking. So I can create a new session, and I'm going to paste that plan in just a second, but I'm going to give it the prompt to go ahead and get started, stopping in each of its major sections to give me updates and request approval. And working in smaller chunks helps it not get overloaded and distracted. So now it's working. It's created a list. It's going to ask me for permission to do some things as it goes through this. It's going to work its way down this list and do everything that it just gave us in that previous plan. And I prompted incorrectly, so I got to stop it right there. I need to let it know that I will be doing this on the remote server. It's important to watch what it's doing. It's telling you its thought process and the steps it's thinking through and the steps that it's taking. And you're also going to be needing to sit here and approve things. You probably don't want to just give it carte blanche to do everything. It will eventually get off track and do something you don't want it to do. So it's okay to let it pass through certain things like moving between directories and copying files and things like that potentially, especially if you have backups. But you're going to want to give it some kind of oversight and be there ready to stop it and then give it some more context. What I failed to do a moment ago was to let it know that there was a remote server that we were deploying to it. So I was trying to figure that out. So it's installing a bunch of dependencies now. We just installed MySQL and got that running. It's moving through its list. And we encounter some kind of a problem and it's already working around it. Now it's creating the actual databases and users and seeding the basic setup for the app into the database. That would have taken me hours to get all of this configured and set up, figure out all the commands to run, and it did it in a couple of minutes. So you can see here it says phase 1 is complete, so it's giving me that. It's taking a break and it's giving me a status update and it's waiting for permission to move on. You can look through and make sure that everything did what we expected it to do. And I'm just going to prompt continue. It's probably my number one most used prompt with Cursor is just continue. I think sometimes I'm just doing like cheering it on from the sidelines or something like that. Like I'm just going, great job, keep going. So it set up the basic environment, it did the dependencies, it set up the MySQL database, and it's copying over the files it's done. So the code has been copied. Now we're copying in all the scripts that are necessary for my node.js app. Okay, we have installed all of our node level dependencies, and it is building up our environment variables. I'm just entering my password over and over and over again. That's my job. My job is just like beating captchas and entering passwords at this point. And of course, it built the project and it built all of the dependency tracking, and it built all the migrations and so forth. So I've done basically nothing. I just asked it very nicely. It discovered some migration issues, meaning one of the files copying in data copied in the wrong order. It's going to figure that out, solve it. Yeah, it just did. And phase 2 is complete. Moving on to phase 3. It technically should have stopped there and asked for permission to continue on to phase 3. I'm having to enter my password often enough I can tell what's going on. But the cursor agent is a little enthusiastic, so you want to keep it on a tight leash. Looks like the web app is running. Yeah, mounted and running. It's doing, I think, smoke tests right now, checking logs. All the applications are up and running. Moving on to phase 4 is now verifying our deployment. All services running, testing the endpoints. Ta-da! We're done with deployment. Here's what we need to know. Let's go do a test. See if this works for us as well. Holy crap, it does. That's it. We just deployed our app, databases, migrations applied, everything done. Super complicated process. Really amazing work. And that's just the cursor agent. That's not even GPT-5. You can do some really crazy stuff with GPT-5. Wow. The future is here.